I done a reading for a guy yesterday, and I'll show you the fate line that he had. There was hardly anything in the middle of his palm. His fate line didn't start till about here, and then it shifted over, and then there was a fine line next to it. So it wasn't a very deep one. So one line was deeper than the other. And his lifeline showed a fork, a big fork. And he's had the photo's a little bit hidden. I'll try to draw it up here if I can see it. He's had a success line that started up there, that went all the way to his ring finger. The success line went all the way to his ring finger. So he told me about his life, so I can, because he's already 66. So because he's lived his life, he could help me read these lines. And it was very interesting because now that I've moved the photo that was actually here, the second fate line. So he's had some career changes. Early in life he had many career changes, and he didn't start sticking to one career until around his 30s. And that explains why he had this little fate line here. That's my mum calling. It's my phone ringing. I can't answer it yet. I'll call her back. I'll call her back soon. Yeah, so this fate line that started in the middle of the palm represents his career that was around about late 20s, early 30s, when he started sticking to one career instead of swapping and changing. And I asked if he then changed again around 35, because there seemed to be two career lines. And I said that sometimes two career lines means two incomes, two sources of income, or study and work. And also pointed out that he had a fork in his lifeline that showed going one direction or another. Sometimes a fork in the lifeline represents two homes, because the lifeline represents one track, that's your path, and that's your home. And if it splits to another place, that can represent a second part of your life, a second home as well. So when I mentioned two sources of income from that period of 35 onwards, he confirmed to me that he had purchased a second home, and that second home was bringing him income. He was still working, still earning an income, and the rent money from that second house was bringing him. So he already purchased one house, he bought a second house, got rent money from the second house. And so that represents his dual income for that period. And later on, so that was from 35 onwards, but then up here at age 50, more than 50 something, and later on at 60 something, which is where he's at now. He was 66 when I did this reading. So I'm just drawing an arrow. That's not what he had on his hand. So that line that rises from up there represents from 65 onwards. And these lines here represent a decision from around 50 onwards. And the decision that he made had to do with his homes. He actually had, that fork was a little bit lower down because I moved the photo before. So it shifted. But he had this, I'll move it back down, it was down there. So he had the, it's not working either, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so he had the change on his lifeline of 2 homes. And when there's a fork, there's always a decision. And so when I was talking to him now at age 65, he said he had decided to sell the other home and he had sold it. So it represents up here as a big change and successful change. So he successfully sold the house and he retired. And this success line that rises up to the ring finger was representing his successful retirement. And he was comfortable living off the money from the sale of his second home. So, hi Hans, welcome. Do you have any questions? So yeah, that was an interesting palm reading there. And I hope that has also taught you a little bit of something about the fate lines and lifelines.